Thank you for the kind introduction, Shireen. I'm going to be talking about the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero and the climate target setting for financial institutions. Although the Paris Agreement agreed on 2 degrees or well below 2 degrees, actually the scientists are saying that we really have to limit our temperature increase to 1.5 degrees. And for that, it requires a 50% decarbonization of our economy by 2030. Otherwise, there will be irreversible damage to our planet, meaning that as human beings, we are quite fragile, and it will be very hard for us to keep on living the way we are living. So although all of that sounds really bad news, it is also a great opportunity for us to readjust our economy. Like we moved on to the big industrial revolution, this is our revolution of our economy for our generation. So specifically, the GFANZ is about the mobilization of financial commitment to net zero. So you can see here that there are political commitments by countries and by different companies, and the last one is the financial commitment that you are seeing. And you can see that there is a 26 times interest or commitment by financial institutions around the world to say that they understand that in order for their survival, the financial industry's survival, they need the economy to survive and the planet to survive as well. So GFANZ has been the umbrella institution that pulls together this commitment from around the world in the finance industry. So this is the net zero alliances that the GFANZ coordinates. So you can see that there is a net zero asset owner alliance, the net zero asset managers alliance, the banking alliance, the insurance alliance, and other alliances that fall under the GFANZ, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. And all of them are under the UNFCCC's Race to Zero initiative. And the GFANZ itself is the umbrella organization that unites the financial alliances. And what it aims to do is to change the international financial architecture to be aligned to the net zero agenda. They have to be part of the solution and to be actively engaging with their clients and financing them in their transition. And so what the GFANZ does is that it coordinates those commitments and actions across the financial sector and make sure that they really support the real economy, as it were, and that these commitments translate to real action and change on the ground. And GFANZ is committed to being the catalyst to ensure that we have deep transition already by 2030, so that we are well on the way to achieving net zero by 2050. So just to give you a little bit more insight into the actual products that GFANZ has been releasing this month in June. So this is the overall work plan of GFANZ for this year. The main core element is about the financial institutions' net zero transition plan. So not just about phase out of assets, but also about supporting the real economy transition plans and the sectoral pathways, and making sure that at the end of the day, there is portfolio alignment to net zero. The other big pillar of our work plan is around the mobilization of capital. So here, since GFANZ is a pan-sectorial Alliance of the Financial Sector, we have investors, banks, insurance providers, and financial service providers all in one alliance, meaning that we have a very good platform for different actors within the financial space to collaborate in mobilizing finance towards net zero, including a lot of blended financing opportunities with public finance like MDBs, the multilateral development banks as well. And also the other important element is the enabling environment, meaning that GFANZ, although it is predominantly a private sector finance initiative, needs to engage actively with public policy to ensure that the voices of the private finance sector is heard, and that we form a constructive dialogue with public policy makers and regulators around creating an enabling environment to make sure that finance flows from out of the brown economy into the green economy. And then I won't go into details, but there are a lot of other building blocks that is required for the net zero financial system that GFANZ is also looking at as well. So in June, mid-June, the GFANZ has set out 3 key guidance on this work that was just shown. And in particular, I want to give a quick introduction about the FI Net Zero Transition Plan guidance. Now, this is just out for draft for consultation, and the consultation will go on throughout the end of July. So I will invite you to take a look at the guide, the draft for consultation, and to respond to it so that your voice and your expertise, your insight is also integrated into the final document. So the Net Zero Transition Plan has 10 components. First, around the foundations of the objectives and priorities, and secondly, about the implementation strategy, which are about your products and services, activities, policies, and then engagement strategy, which is how do you talk with your clients, the industry, your governments, to ensure that you can play, the financial sector can play an effective role in the net zero transition. And then metrics and targets. This is really important, both from managing your commitments to the net zero transition, but also in ensuring transparency and credibility of what you are committed to. And then lastly, the governance, which is around roles, responsibility, remuneration, and skills and culture. Just quickly run you through the GFANZ APAC network and just introduce what it is supposed to be doing, what its success looks like, and what are the blueprints of the work plan. So the purpose of the Asia Pacific network, which is actually going to be the first of other networks, other regional networks that GFANZ is preparing to set up, is to strengthen GFANZ's purpose to be a global organization that brings together the financial sector to accelerate the transition to a net zero economy by 2050. So Asia is the first, but there's already the Africa network, and then later on the Latin American network that will follow the launch as well. And the purpose of these regional networks is to bring your expertise and perspectives from the region and embed it into the global sustainable finance community. So For Asia Pacific, what success looks like in my region is that we want to ultimately see all financial institutions setting climate targets and developing and implementing its net zero transition plans. So what that really means, though, is that we want to enhance and accelerate the financing of the net zero transition in the Asia Pacific. And in terms of our work plan, there are 4 pillars. The first one is outreach to those who have yet to set climate targets. And in parallel to that, the capacity building and peer-to-peer exchange. So we will actually be doing the capacity building as we do the outreach, so that potential institutions understand what it means to make climate target commitments and how to implement them before they sign up. And we will continue the capacity building once they are on board as well. So it is post signing up and pre and post activities around capacity building. And then the third one is around looking at whether any regional considerations, contextualizations are required in any of the GFANZ outputs. As mentioned, there is the transition plan for financial institutions guide that is set out at the global level. And then there are sectoral pathway guides as well, whether and how regional variations can be considered on top of those is another area of work for us. And then lastly, at the global level, GFANZ is organizing discussions around mobilization of finance, especially around blended financing. So this is something that we are thinking of doing at the Asia Pacific level as well. And then this is my last slide. We are looking, during the launch event in early June, we had a lot of discussions with various leaders in the region around the net zero transition, and we collected some of the voices and some of the opinions that we heard and want to share this with you here. So the challenges faced in the APAC region on net zero for financial institutions that we have heard is, for example, the need for enabling policy and regulatory environments, need for more GFANZ presence in this region, especially in emerging markets, the need for FI transition plans and sectoral pathways that are adjusted to the regional and country context, and more credible guidance and standards on transition financing, more blended financing, and carbon credits addressing avoided emissions, especially such as early retirement of carbon intensive technologies, as well as avoided deforestation. And then lastly, data and more data. So that has always been a popular issue as well. So with that, I would like to wrap this presentation by saying that if you are in Asia and you are part of the finance industry, the GFANZ Asia Pacific Network would love to engage with you to think about climate target setting and to support you in that journey of financing for the net zero economy. So thank you very much, and I hand it back over to Shireen